Today we're going to talk about the child tax credit for 2023. First, I'm going to start with the qualifications for the child tax credit. Then I'm going to jump into the calculations for the child tax credit so you can see exactly how much you're going to qualify for. And then I'm going to show you how you can get the child tax credit in advance in your paycheck. So let's go ahead and start with the qualifications. And the best place to go for that is going to be the IRS website. So let me go ahead and pull it up and go through the major points. So here's the IRS website with the child tax credit. And here are just the bulleted lists of qualifications for the child tax credit. Now, the first one that I want to take a look at is going to be under age 17. So this is 16 and under as of the end of the year. So end of the year is 12/31. So if your child is 16 or younger as of 12/31, then they qualify for the child tax credit. Now, if they're 17 or older, they could potentially still be a dependent, but that would be $500 in a tax credit, not the $2,000 for the child tax credit. Of course, they have to be your child. And in addition to that, they have to have lived with you for more than half of the year. So it's really important that you meet these qualifications. Now, if you have a newborn, they will automatically qualify. So if they're born after the 6-month mark of the year, don't worry, they still qualify. So even if it's November or December, they still lived with you their entire lives. So you're fine with that. And your child will need to be a U.S. citizen with a social security number. And for those income requirements, it's $200,000 for singles and $400,000 for married filing jointly. And if you have a situation where you're not quite certain whether or not they actually do qualify for the child tax credit, given your household situation, you could use this interactive tax assistant right here. And I will put this link in the description at the bottom. For the qualifications, that's going to happen on Form 8812. So let me go ahead and pull up an example and go through it quickly, just so you can get an idea of how to calculate the amount of the child tax credit that you could potentially qualify for. So here is Form 8812 or Schedule 8812 on Form 1040. And this is going to be the credits for qualifying children and other dependents. And I've gone ahead and entered in some numbers just so you can see how this all works. So starting with line 1, enter the amount from line 11. This is going to be your adjusted gross income. So I'm just using one that's $150,000 for this quick walkthrough. Now, all these lines right here for 2A, B, and C, I'm going to just go ahead and skip those, including D over here. And then we're going to enter in 150,000 as our adjusted gross income. Now, this is the number of qualifying children under 17. So this is 16 and younger as of 12/31 of the tax year that you're filling it out for. So in this case, it's 2022. So you would enter in that number, and I just put in 4 because I have 4 kids, so I just put in the number 4. Obviously, if you have one child, you're going to put in 1. Then you're going to multiply that by 2,000, and then you're going to put that number here. So this math would work out to 4 times 2,000. That would be 8,000. And then you're going to go through these questions right here. And this will determine whether or not they're a dependent, and that gets multiplied by $500. That's why I highlighted it, just to point it out what the difference there was. And then you're going to add those two numbers. So had we had anyone that was a dependent for the $500, that would go in line 7. And then we would have added 5 and 7 together to get our total on line 8. Then we're going to determine whether or not we have a reduced amount, and that would go right here. If you're married filing jointly, it's going to be $400,000. Or if you're filing single, then it would be $200,000. And that's why I put in 400, because I file as married filing jointly. Now, if we scroll down just a little bit, you can see that I had put in different numbers for lines 10 and 11. And I just wanted to show you what it would look like if we had a phase out. So let's say that this was $450,000. Then this would also be $450,000. And then when we would come down to here, it would be the amount that's over our $400,000 threshold, which is $50,000. And that's why I put in $50,000. Then you're going to multiply that by 5%, which gets you $2,500. So the phase out actually begins at $200,000 or $400,000. It's not completely phased out, and it does depend on the total amount of tax credits that you qualify for. So the way that that works is it gets reduced by $50 per $1,000 of income over those limits. So to just expand on this exact same example, because we were $50,000 over, if we had earned $450,000 as married filing jointly, that phase out begins at $400,000. So that is $50,000 over the amount, or said another way, that is $51,000. So it's 50 multiplied by $50 because $50 is reduced per $1,000 over that amount. So that works out to the same answer that we got before of $2,500, or multiplying it by 0.05. So what this means is that in this same example, I had 4 kids entered in on this form. Therefore, my total amount of my credits that I would qualify for is $8,000. So it's $8,000 minus the $2,500 that gets reduced. Had I only had one child, then it would be completely phased out because I would only qualify for $2,000, but because I was $50,000 over that limit, then it is completely phased out in that example. So it does depend on the amount of qualifying children that you have. Now let me show you how it's going to affect your tax withholdings and your paycheck. And this is where you can actually understand this credit and kind of get it in advance if you adjust your paycheck. So let me go ahead and pull up the IRS Form W-4, which I already have filled out. Now I entered this in for somebody that is earning $150,000, which you can see right there. And if we go to the last page, we can see that our total tax that we're going to have, our anticipated tax obligation, is $17,521. Now, if we go to the tax credit section and go to the child and dependent care section, so we'll enter in that we have one child as of December 31st of 2023. That is the age that you're going to deal with. So if we enter that in and we go to the next page, we could see that it dropped by exactly $2,000. And if we go to a paycheck calculator with the exact same information, we could see that each paycheck is going to be $5,041.83. if we had earned a total of $6,250. So you can see the breakdown right here. Now, if we look at this tab right here and go down to the dependent section and enter in our $2,000, and if you're looking at the IRS Form W-4, I have one right here with these 4 boxes. This is going to match up with these 4 boxes, 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put $2,000 to show you what this looks like. And if we enter in our $2,000, we can see that our take home is now $5,125.16. So without the child tax credit, that paycheck would be $5,041.83. And with the child tax credit, it would be $5,125.16, which is $83.33 more in your paycheck by applying the child tax credit to your IRS Form W-4 tax withholdings. But don't make the mistake of going to the IRS Form W-4 and just entering $2,000, multiplying that by the amount of children that you have. The reason being is if you haven't withheld correctly so far year to date, making that adjustment could actually reduce your withholdings, and then you'll have a tax liability at the end of the year. So make sure you use the online estimator. That is the fix to make sure that you're withholding the correct amount. And then when you get to that tax credit section, just go ahead and enter in the amount of qualifying children. And that is the child tax credit for 2023. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions, join our Discord, link in the description at the bottom, and we'll see you on the next one.